focus on that are not really important. In order to be successful, we said you have to focus on our inner will. What's really important to us. So we said family, whatever it is, if you remember you paying attention 3 weeks ago. And then we said, once we know what we have to focus on, then we said we have to identify what does it mean to be successful? And so we said that success is not something that we have to bring in an external influence. We said because we were created in the image of God and we have free will, we have the ability to make of ourselves anything we want. It's called self-efficacious. We can be effective and successful. It's just a question of putting ourselves in the right mindset. Many times we think we can't do it, but that's a foreign influence. That's not who we truly are. Okay? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you have to go back and watch the video. So this side of the classroom over here didn't watch the video. So today's topic is going from chaos to creativity. And this is very, very important because as you will see later, it's from the chaos comes the creativity. So as we said, step 1 was correctly defining success. Step 2 was adopt a success mindset. So let's take a minute. We'll start off by thinking of successful products and ideas in the last 25 years. This is where you guys have to participate. Give me successful, really innovative, changed the world ideas in the past 25 years. Internet. What else? Light. Uber. Good. Light. That idea is like 5,700, change here. But yeah, that was a pretty good idea. Yeah. And new? The smartphone. Very good. What about we have 3D printing? That's pretty cool. Wikipedia. I mean, the whole concept that everyone can share their information. Google, right? Well, the internet. Kickstarter. Anybody have shares in Twitter or anything like that? Instagram, we have to mention them too, right? So all these ideas really help shape the past 25 years. Now let's go back in history. Which ideas were the greatest inventions in history? Light. Okay. You are focused on light. Light is very good. Okay, but let's say the light bulb. What? The wheel. Well, yeah, the wheel, right? What? History. The automobile, the airplane, travel. Yeah. Travel. A light bulb. Democracy. What? Language. Yeah, quantum mechanics. A vaccination, right? Vaccination, money. All these ideas represent a radical departure for what everything used to be, right? Until then, this is the way we do it, right? This is the way it's always been done. And someone came up and said, we're going to do something really, really different. It's a departure from the way things are. And that's what it really means to be creative. Creativity requires something new and unpredictable. Take the wheel, right? According to archaeologists, the wheel was invented about 5,000 years ago in Asia Minor. Right? Until then, life was very hard. And today, we can't imagine life without the wheel. Because everything we in life uses a wheel. Your watch, everything needs wheels. We can't imagine life without wheels. But 500 years ago, when the Europeans came to this country, they didn't have wheels. And they were pulling everything on their back. So they had logs, and they would wheel it. They would wheel the heavy things on logs. And these people weren't stupid people. The Aztecs, the Incas, these people weren't idiots. They built great civilizations. But no one ever thought, I wonder if it would be better if the thing was the wheel. Like Jerry Seinfeld says, the Chinese people have seen the fork. Yep, they're still eating with the pool, with the chopsticks. Hello, you're not plowing a bunch of 40 acres of land with a bunch of pool cues. Let's go, it's right there, right? So everybody, we can't imagine life without the wheel. Yet, when the wheel actually was invented, that was really revolutionary. But what happened? It had to be something really, it had to go out. It had to really leave what everybody was thinking at the time and something new. So going back to, let's say, one of the examples of vaccinations, the idea. Hey, come in, sit down. Hey, you're bringing l'chaim. You could definitely sit down. This is my kind of guy. You can have a seat in the front, any seat in the house. Except for Deborah's seat, right. So take an example of vaccinations. The idea that we can put in disease to a person's body to fight disease, that's not only new, that's contrary to what everyone believed. Who would ever think that we should put in disease? Or, for example, everyone would have to carry around gold or silver. The idea of having a piece of paper that represents gold, all these things we take for granted. Back in the day, your wealth was literally measured in weight of gold and silver. These days, you have a piece of paper. Well, now, who has pieces of paper? Now we have plastic. Or going back to Jerry Seinfeld, a check is like a note from a mother. Hi, my bank gave me this note. They gave me I gave them the money, and they gave me these. So we see that the greatest invention is in history. I open door for people. So we see the greatest inventions in history needed a departure of common thinking, and sometimes contrary. And this is not only true of the wheel and vaccinations and medicine and commerce, even for everyday success. Sometimes what we need to do is we need to depart from the way we always do things, and the key to success lies in our ability to break free. This is the key word here: to break free from the way we do things now, and to come up with new ideas. It's the willingness to think of a different way on how to succeed. Okay. So in your mind, you can share it public if you want. In your mind, I want you to think of an idea of how you had a success story, something that you did different than you've always done before. If you want, you can write it down. You can share with everyone else. Anybody want to share of a success story in their own life, something you did different from what you were doing until that point?
Set a goal.
You set a goal.
And I worked my way backwards to figure out how to get to that goal.
That's very good, because until that point, you were all over the place. You're unorganized, and you say, today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to set a goal. That's very good. And that you could apply that to many areas of life. So let's go through some problems. Okay, we'll go through some problems, and we'll ask you guys to help with the solution. We'll do the standard solution and then a new solution. Let's take a lady. We'll call her Lucy. Right? She's looking for a job. She has an accountant at some company, and she hates it. It's tedious. Sorry. Right? So,
He feels really safe.
I can feel her pain.
you can feel her pain, right? Thank God I can call the accountant Sam. Now that would be too, coincidental. Exactly, right? So she doesn't like her job. So she's searching for a position because she really likes social media. So what's the standard solution to this problem? What's the standard solution to someone who doesn't like a job? Get a new job. What if she can't find a new job? Okay, there you go. Start a business. Right now we're doing the standard. Right? So usually say. So the problem is, so she looked for another job, right? Let's say she looked for another job. One place is too far. The commute. She met the manager. She doesn't like the manager, or they don't pay so well in the new place. So many times the response will be, okay, so you stick it out. You're putting bread on the table. That's your job, right? You got to put bread on the table. So you don't like your boss? Too bad, right? Or someone will tell you, okay, keep looking for a new opportunity, right? Now, let's think of a creative solution. Creative solution might be, she might say, listen, I like my coworkers. I like the pay. I like the commute. I just don't like what I'm doing now. and we don't have a social media department. So she stays up that night and she drafts a proposal to her boss saying, why don't we create a social network, a media department, and I could head up that division. And the boss says, hey, I never thought of that. So instead of changing jobs, like you said, you change the job. You create a new job. That's thinking out of the box. Or for example, here's something, right? It's been documented that when families eat together, statistically, the more the families eat together, the less kids do drugs. You know the statistic? It's documented. You can't argue with the evidence. I mean, obviously, sometimes it happens anyway. But families who eat together lowers the statistics of children of doing harmful, self-destructive behavior. So a mother, for example, was very adamant that the family eats together, and in the beginning wasn't a problem. They talk about everything else. What happens in Sam and Deborah? Teenagers, right, Anna? Right? You're not interested. So what do you do? What's the standard reaction? Okay. No, but you're adamant. No, you're not willing to let it go. You want to spend the dinner together. I don't know what that response is.
Start not to be so bad to just have a dinner with you. You'll see when your time comes.
No, we do. That's why at the time comes we send our kids to bed. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I don't care. Right? You are not our children after 8:30. Right? So usually the parents will threaten, "You better," or they'll beg, and they'll plead, and they'll bribe. Right? Why? Because so much want to spend time with the children. So what would be a creative solution?
Family game night.
So like Deborah said, right? Is it really that you want to eat together? No, you just want to spend time together. So the creative solution would be, and maybe going back to lesson 1, the inner will, you want to spend time with the family. That's your core goal. So you say, okay, everybody, we could set a schedule. Everybody picks an activity once a week, whatever it is that we can do. So what do? Instead of doing the regular begging and prodding and bribing, with technology and everything else, you came up with a new solution. So what happened was the creative thinking response. You thought out of the box, and I'm going to show you a video of a parent who wanted to spend time with their family, and they had to think out of the box. Here goes.
Home residence, how can I help you?
Rachel, darling, it's your papa.
Hi, Papa. How are you? How's Mama? So good to hear from you, Papa. We are so sad that you and Mama are not coming for Passover. But you know what? Jeremy's parents are coming, and his third cousin, so it's okay.
Rachel,
It's on the baby's crying.
sweetheart, Mama and I are getting a divorce.
What?
You heard me. Your mama and I are getting a divorce.
This is craziness. 47 years, Papa.
Yeah, 47 years of my kishkas being in a broil. 47 years of gulping down matzo ball soup without matzo balls.
Papa, your cholesterol.
Cholesterol, cholesterol. I'm tired. It's over. That's it. We're getting a divorce. Call your brother. Tell him.
Papa, don't do anything. Do you hear me? Do not move.
David,
Hi, David. It's Rachel. Papa is talking about divorcing Mama.
Hi, David.
was this true?
It's true. Your mother's driving me sugar. It's finished. We're over. We're getting a divorce.
Papa, what do you mean? I gotta call Mama.
No, don't call Mama. I haven't told her yet.
David, pack your things. Papa, do not go anywhere. We are coming with the kids. Do not move. Do you hear me?
It's done. They're all coming for Passover. And this time, they're even going to pay their own airfare.
All right. So, Merrick Collinson, he's like a Chabad guy. Maybe he took this course. He came up with that idea. So, in all the problems, including the parent one over here with Pesach and dinner and... Are you done? Thank you. So in all the problems, what was needed was to go out of your box. Last week we spoke about the concept of Egypt, right? In Hebrew, Egypt is Mitzrayim, and the word for constriction in Hebrew is Mitzarim. The words are very, very similar. So in order to be successful, we have to look for a solution in somewhere completely out of the box, completely not where it used to be. So going back to, so now, updated list. So step one was correctly defining success. Two was to adopt a success mindset. Now, step three is we have to tap into the creative spirit. So in order to do that, we have to ask ourselves three questions. Number one, what is creativity? We're all talking about being creative. We have to define creativity because success is tied to creativity. Number two and three, thank you very much. Is creativity a gift, a trait, a habit? And number three, not Chanukah yet, Seth. And number three, can we make creativity happen? Is that something we just have to meditate on, and or are there actual tools that we can use to make creativity happen? Start with question one. Number one. Okay. Here goes. This is the part you guys got to concentrate because this is the Kabbalistic part of the lesson. All right. You guys can be all mystics after this. What is creativity? Creativity means to create something, right? So in order to define creativity, as a Jew, what do? We look in the Torah for a source of creation. Well, you don't have to look far for a source of creation in the Torah, because the very beginning of the Torah is creation. Text 1a, page 75. You see, I skipped the figures are there as well. Sorry about that. Text 1a, page 75. Bereshis bara Elokim. In the beginning, God created. So now, what does the word mean? The definition of create. What does it mean to create something? So we see in text 1b, the Radak, one of the commentators on the Torah, says creation means to bring forth into existence that which was not. In the books, it's called yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. When there was nothing, and now there's something, that process is called creation. Okay, but the Gemara uses the word creation in a different manner. And we're going to be focusing on this. Text number 2. The Gemara says, Efshar, it is not possible. There should be study session in the study hall without an innovation. So it doesn't use the word creation, it uses the word innovation. What's going on over here? How do you learn something new if you know something? If you know it, you can't learn it. So in order to learn something new, you have to have some prior knowledge. Does that make sense? Without prior knowledge, you can't learn something new. But in order to learn something new, you're going to have to, we're going to see very soon, discard what you previously know. That means if you come into a class and you walk into a doctor's office and you went to WebMD and now you say, well, I know everything, you're not going to listen to the doctor. But if you don't go to WebMD, then you don't know the questions to ask the doctor. So the difference between creation and innovation. Creation is something from nothing. What do magicians say, by the way, when they do a trick? Do you know where that comes from?
Abracadabra, abracadabra.
Have anyone read Dan Brown's book? Any of Dan Brown's book? Right. In Dan Brown's book, he quotes, it actually says, abracadabra is Aramaic, is abora kadabra. I will create as I speak. It comes from creation, abracadabra. Abora kadabra, it's Aramaic. Bara, Bereshis bara, kadabra, diber, right, for those who speak Hebrew. You know that? Thank you. Another Paul Harvey moment, and now you know the rest of the story. So, and as opposed to chidush, innovation is you introduce something new. So what the Gemara is saying here is very interesting. Without studying in the study hall, you can't come up with something new. Look at text number 3. It's like the Robert Sternberg of Oklahoma State. He puts it into words. That's why he works for Oklahoma State. It's better than I can. He says like this. Read text number 3. On the one hand, one has to know enough about a field to move it forward. One can't move beyond a field if you don't know. On the other hand, knowledge about a field can result in a closed and entrenched perspective. So if you think you know everything, then you're enclosed and entrenched in how you think it is, resulting in a person not moving beyond the way in which he or she can see the problems in the past. Thus, this is the key. One needs to decide to use one's past knowledge, but also to decide not to let the knowledge become a hindrance rather than a help. So you can't learn anything new if you're hanging on to the old. So for those of you who don't know, there are 2 Talmuds. Do you know that? There's 2 Talmuds. There are 2 Gemaras. There's one's called the Babylonian and what's called the Jerusalem. Most of you will be familiar with the Babylonian Talmud because that's what everybody in school study. And the Babylonian Talmud, you can see over there in the back, you see there's 3.5 shelves of all the same books. That's all the Babylonian Talmud. It's 33 tractates, translated into English, it's 74 books. Me and Sam have been learning for years. We're almost finished the first book. Right? The Jerusalem Talmud, I could show you, it's very small. Why? Because in Jerusalem they had a very, very clear understanding, right? The Mishnah, the Torah was always transmitted in Israel. So the information was very clear. It followed a process. It followed an order, right? Here's a question, answer. If you look in a Jerusalem Talmud, there's no arguments. Question, answer, boom, law. Okay? In the Babylonian Talmud, no. A scenario or a problem is presented. What happens? One guy presents a scenario. The guy says, well, what are you talking about? You shit, you don't know what you're talking about. And they start screwing it, and they present a scenario, and they reject it. The question is, which one's better? Which one is the authority in Jewish law? The Jerusalem Talmud or the Babylonian Talmud? Babylonian, but it's counterintuitive. You would think that the Jerusalem Talmud would be the one that's authority because that is going in a linear fashion. But in fact, it's the Babylonian Talmud which forces a person to engage and then reject what he knows. So if you look at text number 4, in text number 4, the Alter Rebbe writes that in order, you take the example of a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, what happens to the seed? Before it grows, what happens to the seed? It becomes nothing. It disintegrates. Because in order for a seed to grow, it has to become nothing. It has to go from something to nothing before the next something can grow. And in Kabbalah, that nothing between the 2 somethings, it's called the ayin be'emsa, emerging from the space vacated by all thinking. So you came in, we had a problem. You presented an idea, and when you present that idea, you are so convinced that idea is a great solution. But what happens? I come to you and I say, hey, Ellen, I come to you and I say, there's a problem with that. There's an issue with that idea. So what happens? It forces you to vacate that idea. Now, are you going to present that idea again? Are you going to present the same idea that was just rejected again? But let's say I give a valid reason to reject it. No, you're not going to. So even though you vacated, but you're basing it on your prior knowledge. You're using your prior knowledge of what works and doesn't work. But what you're doing is, Alan, probably, you're in the corporate world, so we're talking about how to get creative ideas, right? So you need to base it on your prior knowledge, but you're trying to be creative. You need to kind of throw all that out to try to come up with something new. If you're going to be locked in, if you're going to only treat a seed as a seed, it'll never grow. You have to throw it into the ground. You see in text number 4 on page 77. When the seed is planted, it cannot transform into stalks of grain before it rots in the ground. So this is something very, very, on the surface, it doesn't make sense to us, because right away we think that in order to grow, in order to be creative, we have to follow this linear path, going step by step. So take for example, I'll bring up the example later, but the rabbis talk about the Beit HaMikdash, right? If you go back in Jewish history, we had the tabernacle in the desert, then we had the first temple, then the second temple, and they all kind of happened within close time periods to each other. So we had the tabernacle, then we had a 70-year period between tabernacle and first temple, 70-year period between first temple and second temple, and then after the second temple, been 1900 and change years, and we still don't have a third temple. So it explains that because all the tabernacle and the first two temples were very close to each other. It wasn't a departure of something really innovative. So therefore, they're all close. But the third temple, when Mashiach comes, is going to be so dramatically different. We need this emptiness, this abyss in between, in order to expand it into something much greater. Okay? Before we go on to answer question number 2. Do we answer question number 1 satisfactory? Right. What is creativity? Creativity means you bring forth something new, but it has to be based on prior knowledge. Okay? All right. Let's do question number 2. That was question number 1. Let's do question number 2. Is creativity a gift, a trait, or a habit? What say you guys? Well, just to play devil's advocate, if you say it's a gift, then it's not a habit. A gift is something given to you. Habit is something you form. So is it learned behavior, creativity, or is it something that, well, either you got it or you don't, right? If you inherit $100 million, you did. If you didn't, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm just going to argue with you just to drive you crazy, because keep things interesting. But normally, you're right. You see that the question for discussion on page 78. The question is, though, right? So what does it take to be a creative person? Is it something we all can do, or is it reserved for geniuses? So many people think, most people, when you ask them the question, they think it's inborn. So many people, you ask them a question, can I do this? Oh, I'm not the creative type. That person, he's very creative. I just don't see it. So going back, Dr. Sternberg, you see on page 78, text number 5, Dr. Sternberg argues that's not true. He says it may sound paradoxical that creativity is a habit. But creative people are creative largely not by a particular inborn trait, but because of an attitude. The question is, when you're faced with a problem, do you just try to apply the same methodology to solve the problem? Or do you look and say, let me try something new to solve this problem? Creative people habitually look for ways to see problems that other people don't look for. Takes risks. So if you look at text number, figure 3.4 on page 79, it kind of summarizes his article. And he breaks it down into 6 points that what creative people do to form a habit of being successful and creative. The habits of creativity. Number 1, look for a different way to see the problem. Because many times it's how you view the problem that leads to a solution. Number 2, they take risks. And I was reading a parental magazine book, whatever it was. And I'll finish with Sports Illustrated. Nothing else. Right? I'm kidding. And it says that a good parent creates an area where a child feels it's okay to fail. He feels secure in failing. And in order to fail, you have to take risks. In order to succeed, as all you guys know, I like sports. So I remember listening to this interview with a pitcher. His name is Kurt Schilling. He used to pitch for the Arizona Diamondbacks and Boston Red Sox, and as a Yankees fan, I have to tell you that I'm not a big fan of his because he burned the Yankees a few times. And he was talking about success and everything else. And he said, what people don't realize, what's great about the game of baseball is, in the game of baseball, you fail a lot. You fail more than you don't. So, for example, in baseball, if you fail 70% of the time, you are awesome. If I told you you failed something 77%, you're terrible. If you fail 70% of the time in baseball, you are one of the greatest hitters of all time. That means you're batting 300. You know, and that's why these people, when they win, you know, they all go crazy, and you think, okay, they won a game, because they fail so much. You appreciate success, and so not to fail, you have to take risks. So successful people take risks. Number 3, you have courage to stick to your beliefs. You decide on something. Well, I guess a difference between being adamant and courage, right? Belief in your creative ability, belief in you have the ability to tackle the problem, and you don't quit. And we're going to go very soon to a professor at USC. His name is Gary Wexler, and we're going to be doing an exercise using his methodology to come up with creative solutions. And he says most people, when they're faced with a challenge, when they're faced with, you call it tension between ideas, they back away. So that, I guess he's from Southern California, so because that leads to bad books, bad movies, because they don't think it through. The problem, they just go ahead, don't quit. And finally, he says, be prepared to work hard to achieve your creative ideas. So very interesting. He doesn't say that being creative is something you have to be born with. It's something you have to work on yourself. So it's a question of how you look at a problem. And until you look at a problem in a certain way, you don't get it. You keep trying to. I remember when I was learning in rabbi school. So the laws of kosher are very, very complex, and the laws of kosher in the book of law are complex, and they're laid out very nicely and orderly. In the Talmud, I mean, Sam, again, you learn Talmud, so you can imagine how unorganized it is, and it's very cryptic. And so remember, the guy was trying to explain it to me and to me and my friends. We couldn't get it. And I went outside. I was pacing back and forth, and it was only until I took everything apart and I stopped thinking of it, stopped trying to apply the same reasoning again and again, that all of a sudden it clicked. You have to work, and you have to be prepared to look at it from a different point of view. Okay, so now comes to question number 3. Where do we get creativity from? If I'm saying, if the contention of the Torah is that every single person is creative, then it has to have some biblical source to it, right? It's very nice. I can get up, on Sunday morning and say, "Oh, you people," right? No, that's not. We don't work that way. If you're miserable, I'm going to let you know you're miserable, right? So there has to be some kind of source in the Torah. So we're going to borrow the same source we used last week about free will, and we're going to use the exact same source. Text number 6. Where do we get creativity from? Text number 6, page 79. And God created man in his image. Let me ask you a question. If God created if God created us in his image, that means we should be alike, right? Are we anything like God? He's perfect. He's awesome. He's everywhere. We have flaws. We're finite. He's infinite. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There's no comparison. So what does it mean that we are created in his image? So last week we discussed it means we have free will. Today we're introducing a new topic. What does it mean? Text number 7. The Midrash on the book of Psalms says, page 80, says it says to the righteous, "You are like me, just like I create the worlds, so do you." What does this mean? That means, look at text number 8. The Rebbe explains, to receive. I think I'm falling behind over here. Oh yeah, here we go. To receive all the gifts of life from God in the most perfect way is, of course, a great and wonderful thing. But this is the state of greatness of a created entity. God, however, decided that his creation should rise beyond their state of created entity. That means, what's the difference between you and a behemoth and an animal? Okay, that's last week.
I know, but we talked about that last week.
That's last week, but another difference. Wait, they're tied. They're tied into each other. But an animal is. It is what it is. It can't change. And that's why it says, if you look at it, we discussed this at a different time. When God created animals, they came up alive from the ground. Their body and soul are one. They weren't created separately because they are what they are. A human being isn't what you aren't what you are. You're constantly changing. That's why you have to get up and pray every day. I prayed yesterday. But just because you did a good deed yesterday, or you said Shema yesterday, that doesn't mean today you're set in the bank. Because again, if you put, you win the lottery, you put $10 million in a CD or whatever, IRA, whatever it is, hey, I can live off the interest, right? All those people who win the lottery, somehow these people, they always end up miserable, right? They never seem to figure it out. For some reason, all the people that know what to do with the money never win the money. It's always the people, right? So he says, as the Medrash says, just as God says, just as I created worlds, I want you to also to create worlds. So we see over here that the concept of creativity is what it means that a man is created in God's image. So going back, creativity is a gift. Yeah, it's a gift. It's a gift that God gave to all of us. Here we go. So it's a divine gift. It's not exclusive to say that, oh, only certain people are exclusive. It's not true. It's not unique to certain people. And it's a gift, but it's not a specified or a special gift. It's an inborn trait. Now here's where it goes before. Everyone has it. So what's the difference between a creative person and a non-creative person? So going back to sports, right? Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, LeBron, you name any, or even in art, right? Michelangelo, whatever it is. You think Michelangelo, when he was a kid, he was painting, his ceiling? It probably was, and his mother was like, Michael, I'm gonna, right? Sounds like Miles. Just kidding. But right? Do you know? I once read. Do you know what it takes to get to the NBA? And this one of the stars said this: 10,000 hours in the gym. And they said, and by the way, they said there's no shortcut. It doesn't make a difference how talented you are. 10,000 hours in the gym. And these are people who are talented. These aren't people like, the rabbi standing in front of you. Who I shoot in that direction and hopefully, the ball goes into the circle thing, right? And by the way, this is everything. And again, just to prove my point, if you can read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, he really spells it out. How even these people, Bill Gates and I forgot the other people, the examples. These people spend hours and hours at their craft, developing that inborn trait. But many of us, what do? We don't actualize. We don't utilize that talent, the talent that we have. And finally, like I said, the habit has to be cultivated. Now, some people are using more than others. It doesn't mean, by the way, if you become creative, then you're going to come up with the theory of relativity. Creative doesn't make you intelligent. That's not the type. It's a translation. Creative means you have the ability to solve things and to approach a problem. And in order, he's down. Welcome. You're behaving well. Sit down and learn a little bit. Have a coffee. Have a rugula, right? Creative means, successful means, what's success? Successful means you don't have problems. And that means in order to not have problems, you have to approach those issues in different ways. Okay. So now let's get to the third one. Very, very nice. But now how do we tackle a problem? Do we just do create or generate creativity? Is there a formula for generating creativity? We know we have to be, but how? Here's where I bring in Professor Gary Wexler, a friend of Chabad. I actually heard him speak. When I went to a conference in the summer for the upcoming year of lectures, he presented a workshop on success. And he's, like I said, professor in USC, and he taught us, and we're going to practice here today, the methods that he uses with his students. So what we're going to do is like this. We have 9 people, so we'll split into 2 uneven groups, right? 2 groups, each will have an easel, and we're going to present a topic, an issue, and using, again, this is not Torah from Sinai. This is the only way to be creative, but we'll use Gary Wexler's methods to try to improve on one of the programs we do with Chabad, the Chanukah programs. Okay. Before we do that, read text number 9. All creative endeavors, page 81, enter into initial period of chaos. That means before there's the something, there's got to be nothing. Creative people always face the doubt that comes with struggling to make the sense out of the chaos. But the good creative people who reach excellence are the ones who have the courage to dive right into the chaos and hold its tension. The ability to dive deeply and hold tension differentiates between those who produce excellence and those who produce mediocrity. So, in different words, the title for tonight's class, going from chaos to creativity, because this is what it's all about. It's creating chaos leads to creativity. That means if you're always going to do things in the exact same way, you'll never be creative. You got to be able to throw everything out, in order to create something new. And the deeper the chaos, the more excellent output. Let's go back to the Torah. Yeah, and the more successful, and the more you stay, we're going to read, the more you stay in the chaos, the more successful you'll be. So let's go back to the Torah. Right? Verse number 1, God created the world. What's verse number 2? Look at text number 10. And there was chaos. The earth was chaos and emptiness and darkness, page 82. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. Now let me ask you a question. God is spirit. Well, usually we refer to him as spiritual, right? We are physical. So from a plant, you get a plant, right? I mean, to use Hebrew terms, it says from one species, or from one min shebeminoi. From one species, you get the same species, right? Humans give birth to humans, right? From plants, you get plants. That's the way it is. So how do you get materiality, physicality from spirituality? How does that happen? That means no matter how long you go, and no matter how much you devolve, right? Let's say you believe in evolution or other way around. No matter how much you devolve from godliness, you go away from godliness. How do you get to materiality? The cause always has to be in some way shared with the effect, no matter how far down the chain it is. Right? So you know what makes God great? Not the fact that it can be spiritual. He created something from spiritual to physical. We learn Chassidus, right? Matzilos to Bria. He go and I'm sorry. In what way? Yeah, that right. Very good. So very good. So in Tanya, which one day we're gonna have to sit down and study. Tanya is really the makeup of the psyche of a person. So it explains Chachma, which is conception. First you conceive of an idea, and then you have Bina, which is contemplation, and then you have Das, application. Yeah, it has to go through a process, but it's all within yourself. And how you express yourself. Then you have what's called thought, speech, and action. How you express. Yeah, exactly. So in order for there to be creation, there has to be chaos. There has to be nothingness. And what's the third verse after nothingness? Then there was light. Then there's light, and then there's all these in all these different things. Like that joke I said over a few weeks ago on Shabbos. Right? There's a surgeon, a politician, and a doctor having an argument. Says who's the most important occupation in the world? So sorry, a surgeon. When I say a surgeon, architect. So the architect says, well, God created right. So sorry, the surgeon says, man, God created woman from a man. So a surgeon. So the architect says, but there was a world. So there's who made the world? God, architecture. So the accountant says, yeah, but it had. So it's a politician. 1 second. Exactly. So the accountant says, but in the beginning there was chaos, and then there was orderliness. Who made it orderly? The accountant. And the politician says, and who do you think created the chaos? Right? So as you see in text number 11, so God, the Medrash says, God was creating worlds and destroying them, creating more worlds and destroying them. So this is what he's saying. We see, if you go back to text number 7, we say that God says, just like I create worlds, I want you to create worlds. The world was chaos, and then there was light. And this is what it means. This is what it means to learn. So God was taking ideas and discarding them. This is what it means to be creative, not doing the same thing over and over again. It means you bring an idea, but when you're learning something, you're being creative, you have to have the ability to destroy multiple ideas. I remember listening to an interview with an artist. I think it was a writer, and many people think that a guy sits down to write a book and everything just goes, and the story just goes. And he says, it's not like that. So you write, and you have this part, and you have that part, and this part doesn't make sense, and you have to tear things up and erase it. And it's only after you have all this information, all of a sudden a storyline begins to express itself. It's from the chaos, the whole storyline expresses itself. And this is why in learning, if you learn by yourself, I usually learn with a guy Tuesday night. He hasn't been coming. I actually met him today. I said, how come you don't come? No, don't worry about it. I still been learning. I said, no, that's not learning. Because you learn by yourself, you're locked into your way. When you're learning with someone else, so if you go into a college, right? You guys all went to college. I'm sure most of you are high school teachers talking, and everyone's just, listening. You go, any you guys ever been in a yeshiva? You know what yeshiva looks like? Yeshiva looks like a bunch of small tables. One guy's on one side, one guy's on the other side, and they look something like this. And they're screaming at each other. What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. And you're a shaita, and they're screaming at each other. Why? Because you have a question. Someone introduces an answer. What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. And this is why it's so important to learn with another person. It's called a chavrusa, a chaver. Chaver means a friend, means somebody's going to tell you you're wrong. That's a friend. Friend doesn't tell you you're right. Friend tells you you're wrong. That's a friend. What? I didn't say a husband. I said a friend. Husband does that. He's crazy. No, the course for the mentally, that's not. So this is what it means. It's the ability to have an idea and reject it, and which has creativity. So watch the following video. But this is what we're going to work on. So every year, Chabad, we always do a big program for Chanukah. Chanukah is a month away. Right? Question is, I want to ask you guys to help me be creative, because I always do the same thing. The question is, I need your help to help me be creative. How can we make Chanukah better? And then we're going to go through Gary Wexler's 7 steps in his activities. We'll divide it into groups, and then we'll come back to see what the exercise is. Okay, let's go.
When 40,000 soldiers with ferocious war elephants come knocking on your door, demanding that you surrender your soul, you either yield or innovate quickly. Over 2 millennia ago, Judah the Maccabee chose the latter option. The Maccabees refused to exchange Judaism for Hellenism and came up with some creative solutions instead. Like inventing the dreidel game to disguise the outlawed study of Torah. Like rewriting battle strategy to outsmart the Greek army's ambush tactics. Or like fashioning a new temple menorah out of alternative materials due to a dearth of precious metals. Well, we won that struggle. And to thank God for our victory, our sages invented the Chanukah menorah, charging us with a mission to spread the light and the spirit of Chanukah. But the creativity never stopped flowing. And some 2,000 years down the line, Chabad took up the challenge of spreading the light in every place and by all possible means. Here, take a look at this.
Potatoes, peeling clay, shredding onions, tears streaming down your face. Salt and pepper to your taste. Add a tablespoon of flour, a pinch of baking powder, then add 2 eggs, and mix it all together. And while we stir, we say, tonight is all in good. Got everything we need, a frying pan, some oil for your vodka recipe. Let's celebrate our victory. We got the vodka recipe. Pouring up oil to cover the pan. Turn up the heat, but don't burn your hands. Now you are ready to complete the plan. We're gonna take a spoon of filling and pass it on this filling. Few at a time, fire and the other, till both are golden brown.
It seems like Hanukkah is everywhere nowadays, but it isn't. There's still plenty of room for innovation, and the Jewish spirit of creativity is just as vibrant as it was in the era of the Maccabees. No doubt you could think of some original ways to promote traditional Hanukkah themes. Why don't you give it a try?
Okay, so here we go. Okay, look at page 83. Okay, these are the 7 points, right? So number 1, and you'll see some of the ideas on the side of the page. We have to set your point of focus. I guess you just even that you don't want to be non-fair teams. Okay. So number 1, you have to set your point of focus. It's very important to know what we're focused on, and you have to ask yourself, you know, what's the focus could be. What the primary message of Hanukkah, what the most important Hanukkah observance is. What are we trying to give over? What are we trying to make sure people know? What is the product of experience going to accomplish? So, no.
Welcome to the Creativity Challenge. Creativity sounds spontaneous, but it actually works best when it follows a process. Here are the 7 steps of the Undulating Space Method that will guide you through a group exercise in stimulating creativity with practical results. Today's chosen topic is the upcoming festival of Hanukkah that, as you saw in our previous video, is bursting with color, drama, light, and creativity. Your goal is to create an idea for a new Hanukkah product or program. Here's how it works. Step 1. Set your points of focus. Decide what you wish to accomplish with your as of yet unknown product or experience. For example, highlighting the fun side of Hanukkah. Step 2. Thinking out of the box. You need to empty mental space from which creativity will emerge.
You'll see there's actually draw a box
in the center of a blank page or presentation board. Step 3. Insert threads of information. Think of points of information associated with the project. For example, dreidel, oil, history, family. List as many keywords as possible along the sides of the page and draw arrows from them into the box. Step 4. Create a chaos of creative tension. Mentally and verbally, run randomly back and forth through the long list of disparate points. This creates a mental tension that prepares your mind to think creatively about the topics listed. Step 5. Search for common ground. Search for themes that connect all of the disparate points. For example, celebration. Record your results inside that box. Your mind is now primed to innovate on the background of the disparate points in light of their connecting themes. Step 6. Create. Think of a new product or experience that achieves your original goals. Be creative. Step 7. Sell your idea. Discuss the idea as a group to see if it can actually work. Now, let's see how creative you can get.
Okay, so Gary Wexler calls this the undulating space because he said undulating means wavy. He said it's not smooth. I mean, there's friction, and in order to be friction, that's where ideas come out. You guys ready? You're gonna need your books. All right, let's we're gonna do like this. Okay, we're gonna separate Simon and Deborah. 'Cause I don't want you guys to be, whatever she says. Yeah. This way, it'll be better. Okay, so Sam, what?
Where you're starting from? What you already do?
Well, we do a menorah lighting right now.
Well,
So you guys come up with ideas. You guys,
what did you already do?
what do you mean? What did I already do? Right now, we sent out postcards. There's gonna be a menorah celebration. We even give people what's going to be at that menorah celebration going to be. So again, in the beginning, you're gonna need your book. So in the creative here. So why don't you guys go to the here? You're gonna need that box. That's how you do it. Then you put it on paper.
Yeah, paper right here.
But it'll be easier to sell it afterwards.
We're going to.
Yeah, go to that one.
Okay. We can go to that one.
Yeah, we're going there.
I guess I have to get up.
All right, everybody.
Over here. Stella, you want to come
Okay. Let's see if here the seven ideas. I put you to work. I should know all the work. You guys got this one. You want to fix cheers?
Yeah, right.
here?
You get there first.
Oh, you already used it. So, animal walk, right? Our celebration, bagels, donuts, lights, oil, candles, fire. Right?
See, you're already creative. Okay, so
That's my box.
we're coming out.
The candle lighting.
So that's what we have to.
Candles, bagels,
Boys.
Yeah.
So the focus is on the end, or what are the things that we want to achieve with this celebration?
So, yeah. Put it with the laptop.